lifestyle. And I believe in the holistic approach to it, which is what you do. Like, we can't really express our style if we don't really know who we are and empower ourselves and allow ourselves to be visible. So exactly what you just shared, it's all about the intentionality. It's not about being like the most fashionable and having all the new designer things. It's the intentionality of why you're putting things on your body. And I know that you get it. So that's exactly why I wanted to bring you on. The Style Awakenings podcast. I'm Amanda Weil, soul stylist and your host. And I am joined today with Stacey Brass-Russell. Welcome, Stacey.
Thank you.
Yes. So Stacey is a transformational business and life coach who helps coaches and experts and creatives and thought leaders really turn their passion into profit using their gifts, their skills, and their expertise to transform their lives and make a bigger impact in the world, which is the part I love. And what's so fascinating is that Stacey's career spans from Broadway actress to yoga studio owner to inspirational speaker. She's even the host of her own popular podcast, Passionate and Prosperous. And drawing on her decades of experience as a performer, a teacher, a course creator, and a workshop and event leader, she works with her clients to develop their signature systems and offers, really master their message and increase their visibility and presentation skills to attract in their ideal clients with authentic marketing. That's the key there, I think. Service-based selling, leading with the heart, and human-focused business strategies. So welcome, Stacey. Is there anything in the introduction that I missed that you'd like to share about yourself?
No, I love hearing that. It feels very, very true.
Yeah. It's so fascinating because you have had so many different careers in your life, like kind of all over the place. When though, excuse me, when did you realize that you truly have a gift of helping others shine?
Well, it's interesting. First of all, like when I was a performer, which I really started in show business when I was very young, and I
Okay.
went to a performing arts sleepaway camp. And when I was a teenager, in addition to being in the shows, I would often choreograph shows, and even when I was in my 20s, I went back to the dance studio that I grew up going to, and I would travel in from Manhattan out to Long Island and teach little kids dance. And then, when I became a yoga teacher, I, really one of the things that I really clicked with yoga was just the idea that practicing yoga is a way for us to um, shine our own lights. And so I think that even as a yoga teacher, I was always, really trying to support my students to, believe in their own brightness. And so when I really look back, it's not like I knew I was going to become this particular kind of transformational life and business coach. But one of the things I always say is, we don't ever, when we make changes, they're never like abrupt and out of nowhere. If we really look at what we how we change, the different things that we stop doing and then start doing something else, I really like to call it an evolution,
Mm,
because I really believe that, like, we're always, if we're really paying attention, we're always really using our gifts and our skills, and that will keep translating into whatever it is that we do.
I love that. And I agree with that. It's all like stepping stones, building blocks into who you become. And when we choose to look at life's journey as lessons, it's really a beautiful way to look at it, to get to, where we truly want to be. So what was it then that led to your desire to step into the world of coaching? Was there a certain instance? Was there like, did something happen where you were like, hey, this is really where I'm directed next?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. I mean, like, kind of one very just sort of like practical, which was, at the time, I owned a yoga studio, but I had some business partners. And from a business point of view, owning the studio was not, with those people, was not feeling in alignment for me anymore. But I was also about to turn 50, and I had invested almost 2 decades in building a yoga community, of following in New York City. First I was a teacher, then I was a studio owner and a teacher trainer. I've certified hundreds of people to become yoga teachers. And I so the idea of losing that, or of kind of like, it was really, even though I didn't want to own the studio anymore, I also didn't want to have to like start over as a yoga teacher, like, and just run around town teaching yoga at gyms like I did, 17 years prior to that when I first started.
Right.
um and then there was the flip side, which was that because I had been in the yoga classroom for so many years, developing relationships with people, working one on one with people, mentoring so many teachers, I really spent almost 2 decades talking to people
Mhm.
and having people tell me about their lives, and everything. And one of the things that I started to really feel was that I felt limited in the yoga classroom, because while I could teach a yoga class that would give people, at the end of class, people would come up to me and say, "Oh my God, how did you know? That's exactly what I needed to hear today." Or, they would feel so much more maybe connected, or they'd feel more clear, or they'd feel less stressed, whatever it was.
Mhm.
And that in that moment, their sort of problems or struggles or challenges of their life felt a little, more manageable, whatever. What would happen though is that they would leave the classroom, and then the minute it's like kind of the minute you're hit with like life, you go back out into the real world, and there's like noise and other people, and
Yes.
and it's almost like you lose it. It's like that state that yoga could get you to was fleeting. And I started to really feel like the way I wanted to serve people was to help them to carry that out into how it could help them deal with and manage the challenges of life. Life is challenging. Like, no matter how life is, no matter how much work you do to like be positive or whatever, life is hard, and yet you still have to be able to pursue like what you want, or whatever that is to you, whether that's happiness, fulfillment. You need to be able to make changes if what's going on right now isn't working. And
Right.
what really felt with a lot of my students was, if what was going on right now wasn't working, they weren't they weren't taking action to change it, out of fear, out of feeling like it wasn't a good time, out of not having enough money, like all the things, and so I really felt like coaching was kind of like going to add to my skill set, and give me an even better way of helping people to really, really change their lives, because that's what a lot of people want. Like a lot of people want to, not like your life sucks necessarily. Well, if it does, you need to change it. But even if it's just, if you know that you're meant for more,
Right.
there's a lot that goes into taking action on that. It's much easier to just stay the same and stay whatever is comfortable, even if that comfort is not really great. Like, that's just how our human brains work.
Yeah. Like, absolutely. And it sounds like you were essentially like training for it. Everything that you were doing leading up was really preparing you to be such a well-rounded and powerful coach because of your background. It's not just like you woke up one day and you were like, "Hey, I think I'm going to start coaching people." You literally were doing it for 20 years.
Exactly.
So,
And bringing it, all the yoga, everything I've been doing,
yeah.
I really consider it how I run, it's kind of like twofold. It's sort of like I get to use all of that for how I run my business and how I put myself out into the world. And then it's also really how I help my clients, is by being able to take all of what I know and, bring it forward and say, listen, to make the changes that we want to make, to do the things we want to do, to be who we want to be. It's a lot. It's strategy, but it's also, deep work. And the yoga part is that it's somatic work, right? Like when people talk about mindset, I always like, to me, it's really important that people know that, like, mindset doesn't happen like from, from your neck up,
Right.
mindset is, we call it mindset and we know where our brains are located. But the
Right.
truth is that true change of like our quote unquote mindset, which is a very sort of generic umbrella term, really has to be a felt change. It has to be a full body change.
I'm with you. I mean, your mind can only get you so far. It has to be the full embodiment
Yep.
of who you're becoming and what you're stepping into. When I
Yeah.
say the word full potential self, what does that mean to you?
Full potential self to me means that you are really, I mean, this is like what I love that you asked that question. This is what I say I help people do. Your full potential self is when you feel that you're, I mean, however we want to say it, firing on all cylinders, but it's like, it's really using all of your gifts, all of your passion, right? It's all of your, and it's everything. It's the gifts that you're naturally given. It's the skills that you acquire. It's the passion because it's the thing that like you enjoy and love doing. It's all of that, that you're using all of that. And that also that you're really feeling like that you are living the life that you're meant to be living. And obviously I don't, I'm not talking about like, uh going on a yacht every week or something. I mean, unless that's really what you want.
Right.
But like what I mean is just like really, really feeling that you're using everything that you've got. To me, that's like your full potential. That you're using everything that you've got. And in my world, the reason why, I call my podcast Passion and Prosperous, and why I talk about passion and prosperity is I always say prosperous or prosperity to me is not only about money. It's not just like make money, but it's kind of like it's the ability to make money, not only make the money, but make it by doing something that you really love doing, and to be able to make enough money doing what you love to then fund the life that you want to be living. And everybody has different things that they want to do. Like, it's not like everyone has to buy a fancy handbag, or everybody has to, like I always say, like, if you're me, I like to spend my money to go to Broadway shows and concerts and experiences. Like, that's always been something that really I'm passionate about, and that makes me feel, it lights me up. It stirs me. It gives me all the feels, and I think that like we have to be living our lives in this abundant, passionate way where we feel alive all the time. And so it's really like, what's making you feel alive?
I love that. And I love that you clarified that with prosperity too, because it's true. It's not just about the money in your bank account, because what's the point of that if you're miserable and your soul feels like it's dying? Like I had that experience in corporate. I know exactly what that feels like.
Right.
Yet true prosperity is, yes, when you are happy, when you're joyful, when you're healthy, when you're living a life of love. And it's, yes. So I love that you brought that up. And for me, the happy is definitely buying the designer handbags. So
Well, and yeah, and listen, me too. I mean, like, I love a good handbag too. I'm actually going to an event tomorrow night or Thursday night at a store
oh,
here in the village. I know, there's an Italian leather, like, mostly handbags called Il Basante. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but it's an Italian company.
mhm.
And back when I was in high school in the 80s, it was like when they first, like, kind of came to the States, and having an Il Basante handbag was this sort of, it was like the thing. And so I had two, which I still have. And then a few years ago, like during the pandemic, actually, they opened an Il Basante store here in New York City in the West Village. And when I walked into it, I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And they're having an anniversary, the 5th anniversary of the store on Thursday. And of course, I'm on the mailing list. And like, I'm going, and you can bring your vintage, Il Basante bags, and they'll be cleaning them for free. And I was like, and I'm so excited to walk in and be like, here are my two Il Basante bags from 1983 or
Oh,
something.
I love that. Oh, I love it. That's going to be so fun. You have to tell me all about it. And
Yeah.
this is perfect to ask you this next question because you are so focused on helping your clients increase their visibility, turn their passion into profits, attract clients authentically. So, talk to me a little bit more about style and whether you feel that plays a role. And I'm curious if it's something that you focus on with your clients.
Well, I'll tell you, I know it plays a role for me, 1,000%. And as far as with my clients, I, I think that like I don't. I'm not. I'm just going to be transparent. I'm going to say, okay, first I'll talk about me.
Yes.
I know that for me, I have. Uh, I've always had. Um, I love fashion. I've always had a way that I like to look and dress, and I've always had my sort of like my style. Um, and when I started my business and I wasn't yoga anymore, remember, I spent like 20 years of my life wearing yoga clothes like all
Right.
day long,
Right.
like getting dressed, even like going out sometimes if I was teaching until 6:30, 7 o'clock. I became the master of how to like somehow wear like have the right yoga pants that no one would know and be able to slip on like a top and go out, so I became the master of like the yoga clothing, transform day to night, whatever. But once I started my coaching business and I did my first brand photo shoot, I did my first big shoot, that really felt like an opportunity to really like say like, well, what do I want to portray? Like what do I want to exude? What do I want other people to, feel when they see me? And I'll tell you, Amanda, one of the things I love about you and, when we met through the context that we met each other in like the world of thought leadership and entrepreneurship, I because I was a performer and then I was a yoga person and then in my 50s I became a coach, whatever, I never have been someone that like even felt comfortable in like a business suit.
Mm.
Right? Like I don't even own one. Like I've never owned like that kind of outfit, and I'm a business coach. And so, I mean, now I'm a business coach. And so one thing that I really had to feel into for that first big brand shoot was, well, I'm a life and business coach, but I'm not, I have to get over the idea that the only way people are going to take me seriously is if I'm wearing like a business suit,
Right.
And I really was like, I'm going to go with like my vibe, my style, because the people that the people that are meant to work with me, that's what they're going to relate to. They're not going to want the business coach that's wearing the business suit because it's just not going to feel like them.
Right.
So, fashion and style. And I also really believe in like dressing in your like what to you is your future, like where are you going, right? Like what do you want to be exuding? And I when I buy clothes, I often think about that. I often think about like, how do I want to present myself? And if I'm not going to be wearing a business suit, I walked into a networking event the other day, and this top that I'm wearing on your show, this has matching pants. It's not a
Ooh.
jumpsuit, but it kind of looks like it. And I like bought this outfit because I was like, this outfit makes me feel like so cool and so like together and so hip. And that's what I want people to think about me.
Yep.
And so, so for me, I pay a lot of attention at this point. I will say that for a lot of my clients, until they have, right? Because where are we going nowadays, right? Everybody's like on social media, everybody's like kind of on social and whatever. And, I think when my clients have that first brand photo shoot, is that usually for my clients too, that's their first time that they really, or if they like get to speak on stage, right? Or certain things, there are certain events that I think happen in someone's business life depending on what they're doing, where they all of a sudden are called forth to sort of like get to really think about this, so for some of my clients, they don't have to think about it yet,
Mm.
but one of the things that I do work on with my clients is what is your vibe? What is your overall energy and style? Because what I want my clients to believe is that they can dress and I'm putting up my quote fingers, like themselves, meaning you don't have to force yourself
Right.
to put on something that doesn't feel like you or that feels uncomfortable. And there's a way to sort of feel like you, but maybe elevated, maybe like, the version of you that feels, and this I do think is important, that feels professional
Mhm.
and that feels like someone that is charging money. And because that's something that a lot of my clients struggle with. A lot of my clients, when they first start a business, they struggle a lot with having to ask people to pay them money. And, we do a lot of work on money mindset and a lot of work on fear of being salesy and all of that. And so I really focus a lot with my clients on, well, you need to feel that you are professional or that you are, and professional doesn't mean business suit. It just means you've got to feel like when someone else is about to pay you for your services, especially because you're not like selling them, a product like a couch or whatever. I don't work with product based businesses. You want to feel like a total like professional, business owner. And part of that is how you look, I think. And it's not about what other people perceive, it's how you feel.
100%. Yeah. I mean, you're speaking my language, and it's almost like creating the role as you step into it, um, which I think is so important. And even as they're thinking about their speaking engagements or, what's coming, I don't know. I'm of the mindset that even if it's not here yet, you figure out what you're going to wear for it to attract it in. I did that recently. There was a dress I saw. I was like, that's going to be perfect for a speaking engagement. I didn't have one booked. I bought the dress. Boom, I booked a speaking engagement and I just wore it. So it's the power of that too. When you're like so clear in who you are and what you're stepping into, that,
Totally.
yeah. And I love what you said about, oh, my mind just went blank, about, dressing authentically for you. That
Yeah.
it's not about wearing what you think looks professional. I mean, that's a part
Right.
of it, right? How people are going to kind of quote unquote judge you, but you hit the nail on the head that it's really about how you feel, because that is the energy. Like, people feel your energy first and then they see you. So it's really less about what you're wearing. It is more about how you feel in it.
Exactly. And also, like I said, I think that like there's a way for everyone to take, like if someone is a comfortable yoga person, dresser, and that's really how you dress,
Yeah.
there's a way to do that in a way that starts to become your signature style. You just have to own it, and you have to lean 100% into it so that instead of it feeling like you're wearing your yoga clothes because you just got back from the gym and you don't care.
Right.
Instead, if it looks like it's really intentional, because I always feel like I want my clients to feel like showing up for them is something that I take very seriously. That's important to me, like when a lot of our work these days is over Zoom or whatever, but I do feel that when I sit down for a client, I want them to feel that, that I'm there for them in I'll say like with my coach hat on.
Mhm.
I don't want anybody to ever feel like that I'm running from something else or that that I'm not focused for them. And so again, for me, putting myself together, being intentional with, with how I look. If I'm going to show up on Zoom for my client, or when I lead, I do tons of virtual trainings and, I do lots of stuff virtually. That's just something that makes me feel really good, is that I'm showing up for the people and I want them to feel like showing up for them is an occasion that I'm being very intentional about.
I love that they're important to you. They're
Yeah.
important. And I love what you were saying too about how so much of what we're doing these days is virtual. And I always say to people, that's not an excuse to just be in your pajamas all day, because
Right.
that's going to affect your mood and it's going to affect your productivity level. And even if you're going nowhere, take the time to put on a cute outfit, put on your jewels, like do what makes you feel like you actually put the effort in, because how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? So if you're
Yeah.
putting zero effort into how you look, then what percent effort are you actually putting into your business and growing your business? And It's not all just, as
Yeah.
it's not all just the doing. It's so much of it is the being.
Yeah, and look, you don't have to. I mean, I feel like so many of us that work from home, it's very easy for the difference between work and non-work to be feel very blurred.
Mhm.
I mean, technically I'm here. I mean, I have to intentionally go outside. I live in an apartment building in New York City. It's not like I have a backyard. It's not like I can sit outside and
Right.
work from outside, and so it's very easy for me to just like have days blur into each other where I'm here and I never go outside, and it has to be really intentional. And so even if I'm not going to go outside for whatever reason, um making that distinction of sort of feeling like, and look, there are plenty of days that if I don't have clients, I do wear my house dress, I call it,
Yeah.
and work from my house dress. But what I don't do when I'm like that, I'll be very like honest, is what I don't end up doing is like creating content, for example, for social media
Exactly.
or marketing stuff. And let's say like I really need to like create some content. The only way I'm going to do that is if I get out of my house dress
Yeah.
and I put on some clothes and I make myself feel good. And everybody's different. I don't think you have to look fully, I don't think you have to be like made up and dressed up to make to make a reel or to
Right.
like take a selfie. But everyone's different. I mean, I put a selfie out every single morning from my bed. It's this weird practice that I started years ago for a reason, and it stuck. And so every morning I take a selfie as one of my first things and I post it to my stories. And so many people know about it. I've been doing it for like 3 years. And that's me in bed. But then, other times if I'm making content where I'm talking about something or marketing an event I have coming up, on those I like to, for me personally, I like to just feel a little bit less than like a sort of schleppy.
Yeah.
And so I do think that like how we show up in our business too can be greatly impacted by that. Like if you're never doing that and you're never like getting dressed and feeling yourself, like, I call it like feeling yourself and loading up on yourself,
Right.
you're so much less likely to want to show up. And you have to show up. That's what I mean by visibility when I help people with visibility. And there's no other way to grow a business without showing up.
Right.
And so if showing up for you is going to be less likely to happen if you're always schlepping around in what makes you not want to go on camera, then you've got to figure out what's going to make you want to go on camera.
Agreed. And also think about, those potential clients are watching you, and we people buy based on emotion. So they're also looking at what is your lifestyle and is there something about your lifestyle that they desire? And if they're always
Right.
seeing you in like your jammies or your workout clothes or never done up, and maybe that's not the lifestyle they want, right? And so it's also
Right.
thinking about that, like who are you actually attracting in and how do you need to show up for them? So it's, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it too. So I'm curious, Stacey, what have been some of the kind of biggest lessons and learnings along the way of building your business?
Hmm. Oh, so many, Amanda, so
Yeah,
many. I think that like building a business is a big learning experience because I think it's just a big experiment.
yeah,
Um, and we have to be, I always tell, I put out an episode of my show last week and it said the only way to grow your business is by doing business, right? Like, is by doing your business.
sure.
Um, because I have so many clients that can get very, very caught up in the whole like, I'm just going to be over here working on this. I'm working on my messaging. I'm working on my, my website. I'm working, and I'll be like, okay, but that's not going to get you a client. So like, so you got to actually like be doing stuff. There's only so much work we can do. But some of the biggest lessons I've learned were, well, first of all, and I always say this, I'm like, growing your audience and your email list, like, and this brings us back to visibility. I think that making sure that from the first day you are always doing activities that help to put you in front of new people and more people, and recognizing that that initial pool of people that already know you and that are cheering you on, hopefully when you start your business, right? And they're like, rah, rah, go you, right? That like those people, some of them may actually become clients, some of them may work with you. But then the truth is that like, it's probably not going to sustain your business to just start a business because a handful of people think you're really great, you know?
Right.
And so I think a lot of people don't really think about that. And so once that initial like thing wears off, where, you know, that the people that already knew you that were going to be your ideal clients and they take you up on it, and that wears, you know, that sort of like peters out, where are your next clients coming from? And I think that so many business owners um really have like a this moment where they realize that they don't know where their next client is coming from.
Mhm.
And so I think building and growing and recognizing that there's a long lead time that it may take for someone to discover you and then become your client. So that's a great lesson that I learned, that I actually now make a huge point of teaching my clients, which is, you know, people that I call it your yellow brick road, people that come onto your yellow brick road, they may not end up working with you for like, I mean, I know that no one's going to like to hear this. Sometimes 2 years, they're following you. They're on your email list. They're coming to stuff you do that, you know, and so I think that sort of, that is a big learning for me, that like, that people take all different lengths of time to, you know, to take action. Some never do, but I always say like, but it's nice to have them in the community because sometimes they're the ones that show up to all your free stuff, and even if they never buy, they're still helping to build your community. um but you know, that's one big lesson. And I think that another lesson, you know, that I would say is a big one, is just that, you know, your business, like anything else, is you have to let it have seasons. And what I mean by seasons is you have to be okay with that there's ebb and flow, that there's you know, kind of, there's rise and fall. And if you wake up every day and you allow your relationship with your business to be that sort of unhealthy one where you're like, today was a good day, today's a bad day, today's a good day, today's a bad day, like if you allow your business to run you like that, you're going to be miserable as an entrepreneur. But if you pull back and you recognize that, like, you know, depending on what you do, also I'm really speaking about like someone like me who like launches and does certain things, there's going to be times when like there's a ton of activity, you're really active, you're really in like a client attracting thing, and you're you know, you're getting, your new people are coming in. And then when that period like kind of comes to its sort of natural, you know, end, whatever, you're going to need a period of like, of first of all, just like integrating with those new people. You're going to need to be, you're going to also be tired. Like you can't be at the same output all the time. And if you put that pressure on yourself, you're constantly going to think that there's something wrong. But if you learn how to lean into that, everything, right? This is nature. Everything has cycles. Everything that rises has to fall, and everything that falls has to rise, right?
Yeah.
Everything that expands will eventually contract, and everything that contracts will eventually expand. And you have to be willing to like believe that and actually like live it, or you're going to lose your mind as a business owner.
There's such, oh my gosh, such good lessons. And I can remember like kind of figuring out both of those, and exactly what you were saying, the law of polarity, like growing. We're not always expanding. Like you need that time to pause and receive. And it's like the feminine and the masculine, and
Yeah.
definitely a big thing. And with the lead time, like you're saying, I have some clients that step in after 5 years.
Yeah.
Literally like 5 years. Like they were with me when I first left corporate and launched the business. And then you know what? Divine timing. They were finally ready. And so
Right.
I love what you were saying about like, don't put the pressure on the timeline, that
Yeah.
Everyone's on their own.
But it's also why you always have to be bringing new people in, because there are some people who are fast, right? There are some people who, like, they discover you, and they're really
Yeah,
ready themselves.
yeah,
They know maybe they were even looking for a you, right? And then when they find you, they're like boom, 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 right? So there are some people like that, but it's a mistake to think that everyone's like that, and therefore, if someone meets you or comes onto your road and they don't want to work with you immediately, it's a really bad idea to count that person out.
agreed. Yes. Oh, that's so good. Okay, so now what is the most rewarding part of your job?
I mean, I'm gonna say the geekiest thing right now. It's my clients. It's literally
That's
like,
amazing.
I mean, it's how what I've always been, right? It's like, why would I love why would I have loved teaching yoga so much if I didn't have anyone to teach it to, right? Like, if I didn't have people in the room, right? Then I can't do my job, right?
Mhm.
And I feel the same way about coaching. And one of the things I pride myself on is who I attract, right? And I love my client. Like, I love my clients. I form deep relationships with my clients. So some of my clients become my friends. Two of my clients ended up becoming the coaches that work for me in my program.
Amazing.
One of my clients is now my podcast editor. And my clients all now also are in a mastermind together, and in my Passion Prosperous Academy is a community. And I really pride myself. Like, when I tell somebody, yes, you should join the academy, because not only because I'm going to help you, but you're going to love the people
Yeah.
that you get to, like, be with on your journey. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I freaking love my clients. So
Mhm.
the most rewarding thing for me is getting to do the work that I love doing. Like, that's the reward, is actually being with my clients.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's the transformation they experience and watching them really come alive. So it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm curious if you have a signature piece or color that you always put on when you need to feel your most confident, like you have a big speaking engagement or something. Is there something you always reach for?
So I'm definitely, this is so funny. I am like, my brand colors are these really bold colors, right? Like, and a lot of times coaches, brands, coaching, very often, like, what's associated with it are those more muted color, like that sort of like more calming colors. Or, like, if you went to a web designer and you were like, I'm a coach, show me what you think my website should look like. So often they're like making it in these sort of like coral, and this sort of like baby blue, and a mauve and whatever.
Yeah.
And then when I had my branding done, I was like, I'm red, I'm purple.
Yes.
And if you look at my website, the page, the homepage, I'm wearing this like multicolored skirt.
Yes.
It's got like every color in it, and I'm wearing like a sage green leather jacket. And so I'm definitely the bold color person. So for my first live event that I did here in the city, I wore a red pantsuit.
Yes.
And yeah,
So
and right now I'm wearing this, like, I call it my Barbie pink outfit. I'm wearing this like really, really bright pink outfit. I'm getting ready for a live event in October, my next live event. And I literally, when I was walking in the village yesterday, I walked into a store and tried on a dress for the first time, like, for this event. I haven't really started looking for my stuff yet. And I'll be honest with you, the dress that I liked the cut of, they only had in this kind of very neutral color. It was sort of this like beige and brown or whatever. And I wanted to try the dress on for the cut, but I even told the woman, she's like, "Oh, it looks really good on you." I was like, "Yeah, but it's not the right color." I was like,
all of that.
yeah. So I'll be looking for I'm a bold color person, like not neon. I feel like those colors they make me feel very, um, prosperous. Like they're very, they're sort of like they're jewel tones, they're like, they have that luxe feeling. And I really like that. So that's usually what I'll go for. Like, yeah, like rarely. Look, I love a nice black outfit. I mean, come on, who's kidding? I'm a New Yorker. I love to wear all black, but I would never wear that on stage.
Yeah.
I don't think. Yeah.
Well, and also when you think about when you're on stage, the energy of the color and how that's resonating with the audience, right?
Yeah.
Red, root chakra, it's very grounding. So people are seeing you, they're
Yeah.
seeing you as very grounded, right? Pink,
Yeah.
your heart chakra. I mean, I know you know all this, but for those
Yeah.
listening, right? They're seeing like love from you. Like it's so, I love
Yeah.
that you play around with the colors. So I can't believe we're already getting close to like our time here. I could talk to you.
I know.
I'm curious though if there's anything on your heart that you want to share that I didn't ask you about.
No, I mean, I was so excited when you asked me to come on because I know what you do, and I was excited that you wanted to bring me, and it made me feel like, oh well, I think Amanda might think that I have some style, and that made me feel really good. And so no, I mean, I think that like one of the things maybe we didn't I think I hinted at it. One of the things that I really that I relate to, and I don't know if everyone does, is because I do love fashion and I do love, like I do love things that make me feel a certain way. And often that's like what you put on your body, right? Like, I mean, that's like one of the ways. And so, like I am a huge fan of buying something like you said about the dress, like for the future speaking. I hit a milestone in my business a few years ago of just, I said, like, when I hit this much money for the year, I think it was like 150,000 or something, I'm going to buy myself this Cartier bracelet that I had wanted forever. I don't know if you remember, I think you were at the event that we were at together where I talked about. Um, it was a big purchase. It was like a lot, like for a bracelet. Um, and I had made that decision that like when I hit this certain milestone, I was going to buy it, not only because I just love it so much, but because I wanted it to be an anchor. I wanted it to be this thing that every time I put it on, it would remind me, you know, that I had achieved this like really big thing for me that, at 50, whatever, by the time I got this bracelet, I had never earned $150,000 ever in a year, let alone in half a year. Right. And so buying that bracelet for myself was such a big deal. And what I'll tell you is I wear it. I don't wear it when I'm sitting at my desk because it makes noise. It's bangles. So I don't wear it on Zoom and stuff. But I wear it whenever I go anywhere, and it still to this day, years later, makes me have a feeling about myself and about my success. It's a reminder that I was able to do that, you know what I mean? And especially on days when I feel like on a certain day, I might think like it's crazy to go spend $8,000 on a bracelet, right? But then I remind myself, but there was a day that it didn't feel crazy to do that, And so, yeah, so that's something that I feel, and again, not for everybody is it like an item like that, but for me, it does tend to be like some sort of like like even this outfit I keep referencing, the pink one, it was kind of expensive. And for a little while I was like, I'm not buying that. I kept seeing it. It kept, of course, coming back up in my feed, and I was just like, I'm not buying that. And then eventually I was like, okay, if I do X, Y, and Z, like if I get this, I think it was from my recent launch. If I hit my goal, I'm buying that outfit. And that's what I did, And so for me, like those, style pieces and whatever, that is an anchor for me. I know it may not be for everyone, but I was excited to come talk to you because I know that that's your jam.
Well, exactly. And that's exactly why I wanted you to come on, because yes, you do have great style. And I believe in the holistic approach to it, which is what you do. Like we can't really express our style if we don't really know who we are and empower ourselves and allow ourselves to
Yeah.
be visible. So exactly what you just shared. It's all about the intentionality. It's not about being like the most fashionable and having all the new designer things. It's the intentionality of why you're putting things on your body. And I know that you get it.
Yeah.
So that's exactly why I wanted to bring you on. So
Yeah. And how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel? Because how you feel is how other people are going to feel about you. How you feel about yourself is how other people are going to feel about you. And so, however you need to feel, whatever you need to do so that you feel the way you want to feel about yourself, and that's the authenticity piece, then you don't have to worry about whether or not other people are going to feel the right thing or get you. You never have to worry about that when you're feeling the way you want to feel about yourself. That's all you have control over. You have no control over what other people think.
Stacey, thank you so much for jumping on today. And what's the best way for people to find you?
Well, my website is kind of like a hub for everything, right? So www.staceybrass-russell.com. On my website, there's the page that you can find out, my podcast, Passion and Prosperous, is on every platform as well. Excited. I'm about to hit my 3-year anniversary of that. And that's a big accomplishment. I've put out an episode every week for 3 years.
Oh my God, that's a lot.
I know 150 is coming up. And then of course on all the socials. But I always feel like if you go to my website, there are free resources there. I don't know, I don't know who's listening. So there's a lot of stuff on my website that ranges from literally how to like craft your signature offer to some mindset, freebie stuff there. So I think my website's a good destination if somebody wants to check me out. And then of course, follow on Instagram or Facebook, because that's where we show up a lot.
Yeah, that's amazing. And everybody, we're going to be dropping all that info in the show notes so you have it. And
by the time we do the show notes, I might choose one of my free gifts and have you put the link directly there, so that gives a direct access to something for people.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and I really hope you found value in this discussion. My guest and I have loved sharing and opening your eyes to the deeper impact style and clothing has on your life. And if you enjoy today's episode of Style Awakenings, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with friends who you know will also love and benefit from this podcast. The more we all learn to love ourselves and show up as our true selves, the lighter the world will become. Now go forth stylishly.